Along with HTML and JavaScript, CSS is the cornerstone technology used by most websites to create visually engaging web pages. We're going to be showing you how to add CSS to your HTML code to really bring it to life. The very definition of CSS is the presentation of your HTML code, how you want to present it to your user. So we've got some HTML code here, and we've actually started to add a little bit of CSS. So we're going to be going over that within this lesson. And this is the web page as it looks right now. So as you can see, we've got our navigation here at the top. We've got an introduction, a heading here. We've got a little bit of content. We also have a form, call to action, and then we've got some additional information about what's being presented on this page itself. So when we go to the code, we can bring in CSS in a number of ways into our HTML. And one of those ways is creating inline styles in your HTML. So you can take any one of these different elements that you have in HTML and add additional inline styling. So take, for instance, we've got our H1 tag here, our header tag. So we have the ability to add in style as an attribute to that tag and then attach any one of the CSS properties and values into it. So take, for instance, if we wanted to change the color of our ultimate HTML course. So all we would have to do is type in color, and then here we can either pick a color or we can use the default color values such as green and blue, red, yellow, and so on. And then there's also the RGB colors that we can use. So for now, the one that we're going to be using is we're just going to use kind of this purplish color here. So I'm just going to pick one here and add that in. So this is the hexadecimal value of the color. And when we save that and refresh it, so remember again, we're applying a color to this font that we've got here in our H1 header. And so when we refresh that, you can see that this actually does change the font color. We can also use CSS by opening and closing style. So if we wanted to apply that same color background to all the H1 tags on that particular page, I can take that out over here and I can just bring that over here at the top, and then this is going to be an on-page style. And when we go back out and we refresh it, there shouldn't be any change in that because this is an on-page style. And thirdly, we also have the ability to attach a style sheet. So the way to do that is to place that in the head section of your HTML code, and we link our CSS sheet, our CSS document, to this particular HTML document. And this is the most effective way to add styling to your web pages if you've got a collection of web pages for an entire website that you want to be applying this styling to. Take, for instance, if I have multiple pages, they all have H1 tags here at the top, and I want to change these H1 tags across my entire website. And if all of my web pages are linked to the same style sheet, all I have to do is go over to where the style sheet is located and add that in. And now we're just going to go back here and we can see that we actually don't have any styling attached here. So I can actually just remove out all the styling. We don't have any inline styling either. And when I go out to the page, we can see that we still have that same color. And going over to the CSS page, so this is actually located in a folder CSS, and the file itself is just called style.css. So if I was actually to change the color of this, I'm going to change it to red and go back out here, refresh, we're going to see that it is red indeed. So throughout this course, we're going to be adding in styling. We're going to be doing some inline styling, we're going to be adding on-page styling, and then additional styling within the style CSS file. So again, depending on how you're using your styling, if you only have one page for your website and all that styling is being held here, you can do this within the on-page styling as well, or if you have some minor changes that you want to add in, you can do a combination of the three. But the best practice always is to keep your styling separate, and this helps you when you do work on a project and maybe you come back 6 months down the line, and so you don't have to actually search through and find the styling within the page. You just go to that one style sheet, and that gives you the ability to update the entire website. So that's the main advantage of doing it this way and linking to a style sheet. And this is the preferred way to do this. So also, you're probably wondering, well, what happens if I do something like this, where I've got style, so I've got my connected style.css. I'm also going to do it on page here, h1, and I'm just going to do different colors so we can actually differentiate between them. So I'm going to do this one is going to be blue, and then this one over here we're just going to do style equals, and I'm going to do another color there, so maybe this color can be, just going to do it this way, green. So we're able to differentiate between them. So over here we've got a reddish color, over here we've got a bluish color, and over here we've got green. So what do you think, which color do you think the H1 text is going to be when I refresh this page? And if you said green, you are correct, because the way that this is being read is it's being read in order. If I was to remove out this green, which color do you think it's going to be now? Do you think it's going to be blue, or do you think it's going to be red? So going out here and refreshing it, we see that it's blue. So going back to our source code, and I've got a little bit of a trick here. So what happens if I move the style sheet below this style? So over here we're indicating that we want all of our H1s to have this color, and then over here we're indicating that we want it to be red. So when I go back out to the page and I refresh the page, it's going to be red. Because again, the order of the presentation of that particular value is going to be important in the way that the browser is rendering out that color. So it's coming into the HTML page, it's reading out this HTML code, it's hitting the style here, so it's initially placing this H1 here with this color, but then it's hitting this style sheet and it's going over and it's reading the H1 to be this color. And that's actually why I removed it over here, because this would be the last place that the browser is hitting what color they're supposed to be indicating for this particular set of content. So remember that order is important, and the order that you're presenting the styling is important as well. And speaking of the word important, there actually is part of the value that you can set as important. So we can set this color and we can indicate that it is important, and saving that. So now we've still got that same order where this initial color, so the red color is coming after the blue color. So we're hitting blue first. Maybe we'll just make it like this so it's a little bit more readable for us. So we'll do red and we'll do blue. So when it hits this blue color, and now it's going to hit the style sheet with red color, but we've added in this word that says important. And so what do you think is going to happen now? What color do you think it's going to be? And if you said it's blue, then you are correct, because this word, adding in important, actually takes precedence over the following style color changes. So that's a way that you can actually change the order. So if you are presenting it in a particular order and you want to make sure that every H1 tag is blue no matter where it's called for, sometimes you might have styles that are overriding colors and you're actually not sure where the color is coming from, but you want to be 100% sure that your color is going to be forced to be blue, then you add in important. So again, all three ways are going to work the same way. We've got the same values that we can apply, whether we're doing an inline style, whether we're doing an on-page style or an off-page style. And so if they all are all the same, there's also a few other attributes that you can change. So we're going to be getting into these in later lessons, but we just wanted to quickly go over size. So in order to set the size of H1, you can actually change the size of H1. So if I wanted to take, because as you might know from HTML, that H1 is going to be a big text, bolded text, and we do have the ability with CSS to actually overwrite that initial HTML default of having really big text for H1, and we can actually make our H1s smaller than the H2s that we have down here. So this is an example of, we've changed all of our H1s here and we've brought them down to be smaller than our H2s. So again, it's that order of setting up the values that once by default within the HTML there's going to be default values and default sizes, and when we do set them within CSS, they are actually going to override what the default HTML settings would have been for that particular element in HTML. And we're going to be getting into this in the later lessons as well in more detail.